Hey, welcome back. Thanks for taking a few minutes with me today. What I'm going to do today is try to pack in a whole lot of what's swirling through my head into a 5 or 6 minute micro sermon. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but there's a lot on my heart right now, and I want to get it out there. My wife and I have been watching this documentary on HBO by Brene Brown. It's called The Atlas of the Heart. I would highly recommend it. I think the church needs to hear it. I think people outside of the church need to hear it. I think they should teach it in schools because essentially what she's talking about is as humans, we don't really develop the proper language skills to effectively communicate what's going on in our heart and between our ears. And so, as a result of not effectively communicating and not being vulnerable enough to express what we're feeling, we diminish what we're feeling. We don't ever fully express it. So, we kind of walk through life and don't ever really dig deep because we don't allow ourselves to get into the deeper stuff. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking about predominantly the church and how this is just this epidemic in the church, and that we don't get into the weeds. We don't allow ourselves to get into the weeds in the church community because we don't get to know the people that we're worshiping with well enough to be vulnerable enough to have those deep conversations. Or maybe in some situations we're embarrassed or feel like we should be beyond that. And if there's anything that I hope to accomplish today, it's that anybody that's being transparent and real and honest and authentic will tell you that we all have our stuff. Becoming a follower of Christ doesn't alleviate all of your stuff. The Bible defines it as your flesh. You have your spirit, which when you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart, your spirit is renewed. It's made one with Christ, and then he starts to work on that, and then you'll be joined with him in eternity when you leave this world. But for the time that you're here, you still have your flesh. You still have your stuff, your upbringing, your baggage, your sin from the past, your sin from today, your sin nature. We still struggle with these things. Some of us have anxiety and depression and anger issues and jealousy issues and different things, but we don't want to talk about it because we feel like, all right, if we're believers now, we should be past that. We shouldn't be bringing that up because that's negative. And one of the things she talked about in one of these episodes is this forced false positivity. She referred to it as the tyranny of positivity. It's like when you walk into an environment, they're like only good vibes, right? You walk into a workplace or the church, and they're like, we only want good vibes. We don't want to bring anybody down. We just want good vibes. And what she's talking in the session about is essentially what that's saying is that my comfort is more important than your reality. And one thing that I have hopefully been clear on in all of my sermons is whatever you feel, whatever you believe, whatever is inside of you, you need to be authentic and truthful with that. You're not doing anybody any favors by suppressing that or pushing it down or not being honest with yourself and not being honest with others. But in this thing, she talks about being emotionally granular in that you're getting into the weeds, you're really digging into who you are and then expressing that to other people. And I thought about it from a worship center standpoint. What if we did that? What if there was a church environment you could walk into and just be honest with somebody? If they ask you how you're doing, instead of just saying, hey, I'm doing great. Yeah, work's great, kids are great, life's great, everything's great. You good? Yeah, you're great too. Great. All right. Let's go get some coffee and stand here for 40 minutes and then walk out with a smile on our face. It's not authentic. It's not real. And we don't allow ourselves to get into the weeds because we don't want to, or we're embarrassed, or we feel like it's not part of what we're supposed to be experiencing. But the truth is, we're human. These are human things. We are emotional creatures that feel things, and we need to be honest about what we feel. And hopefully, you have people in your life maybe that you can develop a relationship with where you can start to get to that. But I would encourage you, and I would encourage myself as well, to really find those people and to get in there because it's therapeutic and it's healthy and it's real. One thing that I think is really wrong with the church today is that it's not authentic. It's not real. People look at it and say, well, that's phony. And it's a bunch of people acting like there's something that they're not. So let's get rid of that. And if it means a complete overhaul of the church experience, let's overhaul the church experience. We're bigger than that. God is bigger than that. God wants you to be honest. He gave you feelings and emotions and experiences, good and bad, so that you can be you. And he wants you to be you. Now, he wants to be aligned with you and he wants to use you, but mostly he wants to be you. He doesn't want to be some other version of what you think you're supposed to be. There's an author that Jenny really likes and reads quite a bit, and she talks about sending her representative to social events. So it's not really her. It's not the person at home that's struggling with the things she's struggling with, but it's some representative who she thinks the world really wants to interact with. What I'm telling you is that I think the world wants to interact with you. I think the world wants to interact with me, but we need to break down barriers. We need to accept who we are. We need to pick it all up and carry it with, because it all comes with us. We can't just leave it. We have our spirit, which is made new with Christ, but we're still carrying around this flesh. So when I was talking to my buddy last week, he used an analogy or a comment of, instead of dragging around your flesh and acting like you're not carrying it around and exhausting yourself, maybe go to Home Depot, pick up a wagon, and put it on wheels, right? Because it's coming with. It's coming with you to the social event, to your kids' practice, to the church, to your job. And it's all in this, reality of who you are. And God wants to use you. First off, God's fully aware of everything you are, everything that you were created to be, and everything you are right this very moment. And He wants to use you where you are with what you're doing right now. With all the sin and all the junk and all the past and all the flaws, He can use that, despite those issues. But we got to break down those walls and be transparent and real with one another. And I just had this vision of like, what would Christianity be? How much more attractive to the outside world would Christians be if you actually answered people honestly when they say, how are you doing? What's going on in your life? And you actually had conversation, you're real about it. You should know yourself. We don't have these issues as followers of Christ. We're trying to build ourselves up. We're not witnessing to ourselves. We're witnessing to Him. We're following Him. We're worshiping Him. It's His light. It's His glory. It's His salvation that we are celebrating. It's not us. He may use us in some capacity, but you don't need to go out and present yourself as being wrinkle free and bulletproof and solid if that's not really what's going on inside. So there's so much more that I could unpack here, and I don't really know that I can do it in one or two or even three of these little micro sermons, but I would just encourage you to be yourself, to be authentic, and realize that all of those experiences, all of your past, all of your flesh, everything that you are, your chemical makeup, your nature, your nurture, all of this stuff, it all comes with you into every situation. So own it. Instead of disregarding it and acting like it's not there, let's embrace it. Let's talk about it. Let's realize that other people are probably dealing with the same stuff, and maybe they need to open up and have a conversation about it too. And maybe then we'll break through this phony baloney wall that we've created, these little silos that we've built around ourselves, and really get in there and start doing some stuff of significance, because we're not here that long and we need to be productive. We need to be on point. So I'd encourage you to go out today, be real, talk to your friends, talk to your spouse, talk to your family. Let's break down some walls and see where that goes and see what God does in light of that. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. So probably more to come on this. I'm not done. A lot brewing. So that's all I got today. Take care. God bless. And we'll talk soon.